Hey everybody, this is Dave Cooper and we're in Braintree, United Kingdom, and I am standing with Sean Weston at British Offsite. If you remember, we were here just a little under 2 years ago. There wasn't even a roof on this building. Now it's a fully operational manufacturing facility doing a proprietary wall panel system using Randeck robots. Sean, thanks for having us.
No, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. It's certainly moved on since the last time you were here, so hopefully we're going to have some good stuff to talk about.
Why don't you walk us through the process of, we know Weston Homes, right? But British Offsite. Take us on the journey from where you started, because you had that little, test facility in the warehouse, to where you are today, because I think there's a lot of lessons learned here.
Yeah, I think, like we've discussed a few times, I think the fact we started off small and progressively grew it and learned the lessons along the way is kind of one of the real critical drivers of success. I think if we tried to jump straight to this, there's probably a lot of stuff that would have gone wrong. So, British Offsite started off really as a support business for Weston Homes.
Yeah.
And we developed Unisystem, like I say, our proprietary our wall system. We built a manual production line, and we did that during COVID. It was like our during lockdown project, and we only ever planned on delivering 400 or 500 homes via that production line. And then lo and behold, 2 years later, 1,500 homes. And that's, like I said, really informed us on exactly what this should or shouldn't importantly look like. And now we're in the Horizon facility. We've probably delivered getting on 3,000 homes in a 5-year period now. And we have the ability to produce probably 6,000 or 7,000 homes a year if we really, really stretch its legs down there.
Yeah. So when did this manufacturing facility actually open its doors and start making the panels?
So we've been operating here now for just about a year.
Yeah.
Just about a year. When you came to see us, obviously, it was being constructed.
Right. And so how many square feet is this?
So the main building is 137,000 square foot.
Yeah.
We also have another 30,000 square foot of production platform, which we'll probably see on the factory walk around.
So you guys are building a lot of homes out here. Walk us through the types of homes that you're building, and then let's talk about your wall panel system, because I still have not seen anything like it on the market, and I'm going to say it on camera. It's probably the best wall system that I've had the opportunity to actually talk about, but not only talk about, actually see it being installed on a job site, because it's just not the wall, it's a system built for the entire building. And that's what's really cool.
Yeah, so we do the product really in two formats. A non-load bearing product for use in concrete or hot roll steel frames. And then we also have a load bearing product which we can use where it's self-supporting up to 6 stories. So that really covers us for a range of private and social housing. We've got apartments, we can do sort of traditional 2-story housing. But now actually we've secured recently some contracts for retirement living, independent living block down in the South Coast. We are also pricing some schoolwork and some hospital work. So it's a very universal system, it's a good platform, you have lots of architectural freedom, and it speeds up your build importantly by, conservatively 30%.
By 30%.
30%.
Yeah. And coming from the traditional built background, how does that make the traditional part of the family feel? That's got to be awesome.
Yeah. I suppose. It's been an interesting journey.
Yeah.
We're a big organisation with lots of stakeholders, and maybe there's been a bit of pulling in different directions along the journey. But ultimately, you have to put your money where your mouth is. We've evidenced it. Importantly, the British Offsite philosophy is not tearing apart traditional construction, throwing it all in the bin. We're not trying to move the dial all the way. We're trying to make improvements on traditional methods.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to take things you would find on a normal construction site and bundle them up in a more efficient way.
Sure. Let's talk about the workforce, right? From traditional construction to offsite manufacturing. How was the shift in culture within the company to make that happen, and how is it finding the labor force to make that happen?
Yeah, I think I've been on a journey as much as anyone, because I'm a site manager by trade.
Yeah,
I'm used to being on a construction site, and when we approached this project, really, and we wanted to scale up, I made some mistakes approaching it like a construction manager, and essentially saying I want more product. So we'll get more people in, we'll get more tradespeople in to come and do the work, and it just didn't work properly. It didn't work like that. So what we've now decided is that actually every person in our factory is not tradesperson. They don't come from construction background. They are pure manufacturing operatives. It's a different mindset. They're there to do effectively repeat tasks, but to a very, very high standard.
Yeah.
Tradesperson is taught, a little bit of everything so they can think on their feet,
Right.
which isn't necessarily the attributes you really want in a factory floor. So our workforce predominantly comes from within a 10-mile radius. They are not tradespeople. They need to stay out on site.
Yeah.
Just like in the US and the UK, we have a critical skill shortage.
Yeah.
And anyone who is a tradesperson should stay on the job site. So, like I say, it's a different labour pool, and it has taken some time for us organisationally and culturally to adjust our mindset and to build the workforce up.
What would you consider as your biggest problem or the hardest thing to overcome during this process and to the manufacturing?
During the process, probably the biggest challenge that we've had to overcome is interfacing with the construction site.
Yeah.
Kind of learning what levers operationally to pull and not to pull. When we started, we were actually just in time to site.
Yeah.
We would put it on the lorry, send it out, and that was just a bit of a disaster.
Sure.
Construction sites don't work like that. We have wind, we have rain, we have adverse weather, we have delays. So we've learned over time to, change the way that we try and operate the business to make sure that the manufacturing can interface properly with the construction, because this has to be very stable.
Yeah.
Stable and repeatable. And, it is about learning what to do and what not to do.
Sure. Efficiency, sustainability. You touched a little bit about the savings and, not a lot of waste. Walk me through that side of this, because sustainability, efficiency, and affordability is a big topic right now.
Certainly is.
How is this factory actually helping you along that journey with British Offsite and Weston Homes, for that matter?
Well, I think there's a few different layers to that. I mean, in terms of actually delivering energy efficient buildings, the benefit of Unisystem is that we deliver, a product which is very airtight.
Yeah.
We can tailor the thermal properties, go right down to a passive house standard if that's, the specification. So we can deliver really, really low cost, high efficiency buildings that are easy to operate. When we actually look at the construction process, like I say, it's very low waste.
Right.
All of our dry lining material, for instance, we probably 3-4% waste, and it actually all gets recycled back to Knauf, our dry lining partner, and they actually reuse a lot of that. They love our waste. It's very clean. It's not come from a job site. Likewise with the steel we use, we always shoot for the highest possible recycled content in the raw steel. Steel's a great product because it can be recycled again and again. So we've got the building itself, we've got the manufacturing process, and then when we actually get to site, obviously we've added so much work into our wall system, you then don't have the human waste of loading out, bringing waste materials back down. We don't have skips on site. We don't have as many people driving to site. So it's adding efficiency and improving our environmental impact on lots of levels.
Yeah. Is it allowing you to do more builds with less resources today?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think considering, like I say, we are probably delivering about 1,200 homes this year, and we're doing that with 45, manufacturing and warehouse operatives. And, if you were out on site, you would be tenfold.
Yeah, there's that many on each job site.
Absolutely.
Right? When you bring all the trades and stuff together. I love that. Let's talk about who the customer is, because Weston Homes, you're a developer originally, then there's British Offsite, but you're not just creating this panel for yourselves. You're actually working with other developers and builders. And I was picking up a little bit earlier that you have some global projects happening as well. Walk us through who your customer is.
Yeah, so like I say, Weston Homes is always going to be kind of at the core of what we're doing. But Weston Homes' demand only represents probably about a quarter of our annual production now. So we found that lots of main contractors actually buy into the system. We have house builders. And then we also have other sectors. So like I said, we've got student, we've got later living, we've got hospital, potentially defence sector as well. So what we generally find is actually the main contractors see the most value in our product because they put a pound note value on time. The house builders have a different approach. They are all about building as fast as the sales rate. So, there's different places where our product has, greater and lesser value, particularly in the high-rise space.
Right.
I'm sure you'll be abreast of the regulatory changes we've had in high buildings in the UK, tall buildings. We now have to go through a safety regulator effectively, and you have to have finished a building to then go through the safety regulator before you can start occupying it.
Yeah.
And what that means is that if you were building traditionally, you might find that the total project timeline has increased by 20% because you've got to go through this process.
Yeah.
So in actual fact, we're able to effectively rein that back in. And when you think about the cost of money these days, that it represents ginormous volumes of capital effectively.
Yeah.
So we're saving lots and lots of levels, and ultimately our product is still competitive on a like-for-like basis as well.
Right. Let's talk about setting up the factory. This is a lot of the viewers are going to want to hear, right? Let's talk about, the partners. Walk me through the process of choosing, because there's a lot of options out there today, and help me kind of understand, when you're doing this type of an investment, I'm sure you put a lot of thought in who you're going to get in bed, so to speak, with, right? On how this is all going to come together.
Vendor selection was really important to us. I think the line you can see behind us is obviously being produced by Randec AB.
Yeah.
Has been a fantastic delivery partner for us because our product doesn't quite fit the mold.
Yeah.
It's light gauge steel, it's not timber. The way we actually handle it and what we do with it is a little bit bespoke to us. And actually, a lot of the other machinery suppliers were a little bit more kind of, you got to change your product to fit our production system. Yeah. So although price is always important, not make any bones about that. I think Randec's approach, their outlook and their attitude towards working with us to create something not entirely bespoke, but kind of customized for us is critical.
Yeah.
I think if we hadn't have been able to have established that's the nature of the relationship when we started, and we had already appointed a supplier and found that out later, that would have been a disaster.
Is there efficiency in actually doing your own cold form steel? Because you have the Howick machines, if I remember correctly. Do you find an efficiency in that versus just buying it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think there's lots of reasons to do that. I think cost is obviously one of them. Bringing things in-house, vertically integrating is important. And the Howick machines are incredibly reliable. Again, we do some things slightly different with our steel and vendor selection, and that's really why we chose Howick as well. But ultimately, it gives us control. So for context, our production line generates about £30,000 per hour in revenue.
Wow.
And it's just not worth having bought-in components holding us up.
Yeah.
And that's why we look to integrate as many of those production processes ourselves as we can.
For sure. So talk to me about where you're headed with this in the future, right? I know you've only been in this factory a little over a year now, or, right there about, but honestly, from what you're seeing, is it going the way you wanted it to go? And are you already looking ahead? Because when I was with you, you had VR glasses, you made up your own designs, we were doing walkthroughs, and you didn't buy somebody's software, you guys made your own. Which I think is really, really cool. So walk me through what that process looks like.
I think the future of the factory here now is probably about continuous improvement. Yeah. It's about us bringing it really up to capacity. I'm sure lots of your viewers will be asking, you've been sold and it's supposed to produce so much per hour. Does it actually produce that per hour? I have to say, actually, we work with Randec and the numbers are pretty close. Yeah. Doesn't mean, though, that we haven't already spotted lots of opportunities to improve that. Right. So that's on the horizon. This makes a pretty good template, which we might be able to cookie cutter in the UK and in other parts of the world. We're looking at some ventures out in the Middle East at the moment. We'll see where that goes. But quite regularly, we're asked if there's opportunities to franchise this setup effectively in other parts of the world. Sure. So we'll see. We're open to conversations.
Well, I'm telling you now, and I'm here, and we're going to walk the factory floor with one of your floor guys that are down here, project managers, or who are we meeting with down there?
I think you're meeting with Grant Mettam, our operations manager, and Paul Cashman, one of our business development managers.
Wait until you meet Paul. But in all honesty, the factory's humming. The panel line is full, and the fact that you're putting that much out only a year in, I have not seen in any other factory that's opened the door within a year.
Oh, that's those baby steps, those, isn't it?
I know, but it is. But I'm just saying that's a testament to you. I think it's absolutely incredible. Last subject. Let's talk about software. DFMA, right? Is what
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
likes to say, design for manufacturer assembly.
Yeah.
Are you guys, did you come up with your own proprietary software? Did you plug and play, or are you using?
We are a Vertex BD customer,
Mhm.
and it's heavily modified for us.
Is it?
I think if you bought a Vertex license and tried to use it and produce what we're producing, there's a big gap.
Yeah.
I think we're open to other software suppliers as well, though. But there's always the question mark about now we've understood how we've customized it to work that properly with our product. Actually, kind of re-delivering that in another software package, there's some real question marks. Funnily enough, we discussed this yesterday about expanding our capabilities, expanding our capacity, and in actual fact, if we had some other packages we could use for drawing Unisystem, then we might be able to call on some external providers to help us with that design piece. But it's so you've got to be so careful with it not to stop that. Like I say, there's a huge revenue per hour generation downstairs. And you have to very carefully calculate, the risks of moving, changing, but that doesn't mean that we're not open to it either.
Well, I mean, I think that's a lot of the manufacturers, thoughts when it comes to, do I stop my production line to put this in, and where's that value and where's the value lost on that? But I think you're absolutely right on the sense that it's always improving. It's always changing. The data that you're getting is always changing. The builds are always changing, and every little tweak on the line tweaks the entire line.
Certainly does.
And you have to recoup, whatever was lost when you're doing that. What did I miss? What do you want everybody to know that I didn't cover?
No, I think, look, we covered the basics as always. I would always, like say, promote Randek. We're looking forward to continuing working on this. With the Randek team. Like say, a British Offsite, we have the ability to produce 7,000 homes a year out of this one factory. So come and talk to us. It's a really competitive product. But it's just great to see you again.
Amazing. And stay tuned. We're going to do another video because this guy's even doing something even crazier, but he's raising a lot of money for a good cause. So thank you again. Appreciate your time. I'm Dave Cooper, British Offsite. We'll see you on the factory floor in just a few.